KitGuru ist mit Thermaltake auf der Computex 2024.
KitGuru est au Computex 2024 et nous rendons visite à Shar-Kun.
KitGuru 在台北国际电脑展2024与安泰科。
KitGuru è con componenti M6 al Computex 2024. KitGuru está con Alpha Cooling Computex de la 2024.
Dominic KitGurulle olemme Acer Computex 2024 tapahtumassa.
KitGurus samen met Corsair op Computex 2024. We zijn in de speciale videokamer geweest die Corsair voor ons videomakers biedt.
Ready to go? Rolling? Excellent. Be ready to rugby tackle anybody that comes for us. KitGuru is with Steve Burke of Gamers Nexus. I just realised I've got a camera staring my eyes. It's quite intimidating. It's quite weird.
The camera is?
No, the cameraman.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's just there for protection.
He's
Clearly, you have enormous power over Intel. They're a small company. They're getting smaller by the minute.
Were you at that event?
I don't think so. That doesn't sound familiar.
You weren't. It was
Thank you for telling me my own whereabouts.
The video showed an awful lot of laptops blue screening because they, for some reason, hadn't set a thermal limit. So they're running to 120C and then shutting.
That is a hell of a foreshadowing element because they've got some similar problems on desktop now.
I would have said steampunk, but I guess Frostpunk aesthetic is more of what they're going for. Leah is modelling the box very nicely for me. Thank you, Leah.
And also, the lighting.
Yes, it now has
RGB rather than just
Yes, that is correct. It now has ARGB lighting. It is apparently set to orange, obviously to match the aesthetic, but you could customize that if you want to.
Returning to my comment earlier about Montech being keen to get away from black and white cases, here we have a King 95 in rose gold. I'm not absolutely certain it's to my taste, but it's different, and we like different. Here we have the same case, reversed. It's not like the old 900 and 901 where you have to pull the thing to pieces, invert the motherboard tray, reassemble. Oh no, all you do here is you simply remove the 4 feet quarter turn fasteners, and if we go to the top and I put my finger in place, there is a notch, and also here. We can see it better on the white one, just there is a notch, and that's for the feet to engage. They go in, they rotate 90 degrees. A man's going to bring me a foot. Why haven't they got these? I'm being recorded.
What? Is there a problem? Do you need me to take care of something?
Well, Mr. Burke, are you here to take down Be Quiet? That's the big question.
I heard they didn't even have the case feet ready for you right now.
This is true.
This
however,
is completely unacceptable.
It's very
they didn't know that Leo was going to be here.
Well, what's worse is you've been here for 10 minutes and you've had the full royal treatment. However, here we are. But all seriousness,
they had not only one, they had 4 case feet for me.
I'm feeling gutted now. But here we have the branding, the light-based 900FX. This business of inverting the case. Can we have the foot? Put it in.
Here. Don't break it.
Scotch that.
Here we can see the opening. Right.
Media.
It's not swearing. So, to clarify, after we asked the classic, are we good? Next to that is something that will intrigue you. It's a version of the Prime TX 1600. And look, Noctua. Now, this is more than just a colour job. Obviously, we have Noctua Brown and Noctua Fan. That's obvious. You can also see the grille is Noctua. However, internally, the power supply cooling has had to be revamped to take full advantage of the Noctua Fan. Apparently, this takes quite a period of time. We do not expect to see this power supply this year. We hope to see it early next year, so 2025. Silverstone is getting big into workstation support because of, yes, you guessed it, AI. Now, this is an interesting case to me because it looks similar to the TJ07 with the curved unibody that we're familiar with. However, it's got larger because the innards are very large indeed, as you can see. And this is the kind of hardware you require for a workstation that's going to do AI stuff. Funny thing is, I think it's all unlocked. It has a removable motherboard tray. I'm not going to do any further in case it goes crashing out, and that would be embarrassing. But that's novel. So continuing the theme of hidden away lighting control, we have the HydraShift 360 TL AIO. This is a 360mm AIO cooler. It's installed here in the roof of the case, and when you first look at it, on the AIO side of things, you can't see hoses. You can see the hoses coming out of the pump, naturally. You can't see any fasteners securing the pump to the CPU socket because they've got like a little shroud over them. And then the hoses, if you look underneath, Rosie, vanish up the back of the radiator. Time for some budget cases. Eclipse G400A, G rather than P as we've become used. this is just under £100, euros, dollars, and around the front we can see behind the front panel 3 140mm fans, ARGB, away with that, and then we pull off the fine mesh dust filter behind, and you can see we've got channels that duct the air towards those fans, and it's a lovely clean look. And the promise obviously is that with the separate fine dust filter behind that front panel, it's going to keep all the dust out of your system. And we discover whether I can put a panel back on one-handed. So far so good. Look at that, almost professional. Starting back in 2005 with a case called Guardian, and I have to confess I never saw Guardian, but I do recall the 2010 Phantom, and I really extra remember the 2014 H440, an innovative case that started to change things in the PC market. Much more recently, we've reviewed in 2022 the H7, and then in 2023 the H6 Flow, and you can see how these cases have evolved. I have not yet reviewed the H7. I do actually have a shipment on the way to me right now that contains the H7, which, as you can see, bears a certain resemblance to its forerunners, the significant change being in the floor of the case there's a recess where the fans will sit out of the way. With the Stealth 18 Mercedes-AMG Motorsport, we saw an AMG co-brand last year at Computex, AMG rather than AMD of course. We don't have a price for this laptop because it's not really available through laptop shops. It's more of a Mercedes thing and a marketing thing. Hence, we never expect to see one on review. So it's powered by Intel Core Ultra 9 185H with Windows 11 Home and NVIDIA RTX 4080 graphics. But as we're never going to get our hands on it, all we can do is just stand and admire it, the bling, and the accessories, which are a great deal of fun. The Athena M3, we are told, priced around £65 euros, dollars, with 4 RGB fans and curved mesh. This, to me, is the hero product, but it's hidden away over the side of the booth. I like the look of this a lot. DDR5 10600 CL56, and you'll note 32 gigabytes, Satuba 16. I checked, it's running high voltage, 1.65 volts. But that's not a great surprise. That is a monstrous speed and very interesting to see. As to whether you'd want to run your daily driver PC on that kind of voltage, not so sure. This is a 4U unit and this is a 2U unit. This is the controls, this is the cooling. It can cool up to 12 kilowatts of server hardware. In essence, we've got a bunch of pumps here ganged up. Those fans roaring away are blowing air to keep the pumps cool. You can see the power supply, a whole bunch of electronics. Here we have the reservoir. If you look in the cooling box, we can see the radiators, multiple, and also the fans. The significance of this little DDC pump that I'm holding in my hand, it has a flow rate about half that of a regular DDC pump, but about twice that of AlphaCool's usual DDC LT pump. So it's a formidable little operator. And it's all about that rotor there, which is just absolutely nuts considering the tiny size. And the idea is it can be used to power absolutely microscopic pump reservoir units. Those are these. A regular pair of sunglasses, or so you'd think, except, look, we have gold contacts. Can you see that, Dominic?
Yep.
Lovely job. And they have circuitry inside. And there we have the audio hardware, completely invisible to the eye. So as you're driving, you can listen to your music. And also have protection. And at the insistence of the NetAct rep, I'm wearing these to close out. This is
Arguably more interesting though is this. You might think MSI is making phones. They're not making phones, they're making this. So this is actually a external SSD or external storage. It supports USB 4, so up to 40 gigabits per second, and the idea is it's magnetic. So you might want to stick it on the back of your phone, as you can see here. However, you also get included in the box a magnetic ring, so if your laptop, for instance, it won't stick to the back ordinarily, you attach the little ring and it can snap on. I personally think it makes more sense for laptops. I think this looks a bit neater, whereas I'm not sure I'd want that bulky thing on the back of my phone. But certainly if you want to add up to 4 terabytes of storage, they tell us this could be an easy way of having something rather sleek and rather external.
specifically the Performance 1M, which is SFX. It's a fairly small case, although I cannot say tiny, and it's a combination of aluminium on the outside, steel on the inside. The price from memory, something like 150 or 160, is the anticipated price. Top panel pulls off to reveal a dual chamber design, kind of. The graphics go on the one side, power supply, motherboard on t'other, and then you have a riser to connect the two. The riser is part of the deal. Happily, I don't have to rely on words to describe things. I can show you what they're talking about. So there you go. Huge graphics card taking up an enormous amount of space inside this small case. SFX power supply, and you can see the riser popping over. Returning to the open case, the motherboard tray assembly actually moves from side to side. You can see that this bracket is part of the motherboard tray where it's screwed to it, and you can see it can potentially move to that side. You can see at this end it can move from there to there, depending on the thickness of your graphics card. And obviously the thinner the graphics card, the more space you have for your CPU cooler.
And we're starting off with something which Sharkoon is claiming is very, very unique. What you can see here is what Sharkoon says, the world's first mass-produced fully wooden keyboard. So in the mechanical keyboard enthusiast community, you'd occasionally get wooden cases done at like a group buy. You'd maybe only get 20 or 30 and they'd be very, very expensive. Sharkoon's saying this is the first mass-produced version. So it is using the SGK50. As you can see, we've got 3 different sizes. We go from the 60%, which is the smallest. We then have the 75% over here. And then at the top, we have 2 96% models. The internals is all the same between them. The only difference really is the size.
The Tower 600 is new for Computex. So it's the largest of the towers we've seen so far. The largest I reviewed was the Tower 500. Significant thing here, among other things, support for 420 AIO is hidden connector motherboards, i.e. the cables come in the back. Just look at the size of GPU it could support, absolutely enormous. You'll also notice the AIO liquid cooler has a round pump LCD. We'll be seeing that later. Looks really neat. It also establishes the time and date we're here. We have the MAG 870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. Tomahawk is meant to be the budget brand. It's clear they've moved Tomahawk up the food chain. It's no longer, not exactly bottom tier, but close to bottom tier. Pros down there. Tomahawk looks really smart. The heat sinks on the VRMs look absolutely lovely. There's some work's gone into those. Also, the heatsink on the primary M.2, that's a piece of work. And notice the other M.2s, 2, 3, and 4, also have heatsinks. We did not previously see this kind of attention with Tomahawk. Worth mentioning, the new, in inverted commas, X870 chipset supports USB 4, so we can expect to see that on these motherboards as well. The light mood and the dark mood. To get inside the case, I pull that panel. The cooling is managed by this enormous 180mm fan in the roof of the case, which then exhausts through the mesh top, and it supports up to a 325mm graphics card. That's pretty much every graphics card in the market, but I'm sure that Dominic could find one somewhere that won't quite fit. However, most hardware will go in this case. The price of both moods is $149.99. And when you put the top cover back on, my advice is mind your fingers. And we've cleared the table and we've replaced the smaller cases with the enormous new 9000D. The 9000D is similar to the 1000D that caused us some heartache. There are a huge number of changes. Primarily, this case is aimed at airflow, so mesh replaces glass. The drive tower, which was fixed in the 1000D, in fact riveted in place and was removed by a number of modders, can now be removed quite easily. There's a build in the next room, we'll add some B-roll, which shows exactly that. This is an ATX power housing. However, if we go around the back, because I'm not going to move this case as it's so heavy, we have the familiar drive doors. Behind those, behold the number of grommets, almost infinite. Interestingly, the build next door, they've actually put a panel of acrylic across those grommets to make it all look prettier, to mount some pumps. You'll see grommets down here. Intriguingly, you can mount a second system in this case, and the built system is running off an SFX power supply in this location here. They have a huge amount of hardware running on SFX power, and I think that could well be the way of the future. You'll notice IQ Link hardware. Close up the drive doors. At the front, we slide out the big dust filter. Oh, hang on, I've just noticed. The dust filter, which has a cutout for the Corsair logo. Yeah, can't keep those boys down. And here we have a system called Infinity Rail. Pull at the top and the bottom, it slides. This is a radiator fan rack. Look, the mounts move. The locations are not fixed. Also, look, markings, measurements, so you can know exactly where you want to put your various fans or radiators. What a nifty system. As I said yesterday at a different booth, this is either genius or stupidity. If it's genius, it could have been done 5 years ago, but a review will tell all. And to put things in perspective, you take an enormous graphics card and it barely fills the case. Look at it, there's so much space. You're going to need custom loop in this case, perhaps a second system. You can see the mounts for Mini ITX. If you don't have a lot of hardware to put in the 9000D, you'd be wasting your time. And I can just imagine James is salivating at the prospect of reviewing this new case.
And now we're moving over to the Predator Z57. I'm pretty sure we've seen this one a few times. I don't know if it's actually on the market right now, but it is an absolute beast. It's not OLED, but it is actually a, I want to say it's a VA panel. And it's also using mini LED backlighting. Like I said, 57 inch. So that is what Ace is calling the DUHD. So I guess dual Ultra HD resolution. So that's 7680 by 2160. And you can see it is supremely curved. This is 1000R curvature. So that is one of the most curvy screens I've ever seen. We have seen one monitor that's 800R, but this is right up there. And you can imagine that is going to make for a very immersive gaming if you're especially doing something like a racing game. Can come all the way around, Leo. We can see probably what makes this very special as I move a few things out the way. It's sorry about that. Take two. Oh no. Where is this? I'll just hold that. Sorry about that. It's only Tech Testers.
Is it Tech Testers Award?
I think it might have been.
Dominic has broken Tech Testers Award.
I'll apologize to Nada and Stefan in person. 我是多米尼克，从 A 赛前推，这是本周在台北国际电脑站上见过最繁忙的一次。这里很热，所以我们要吃开可能会去喝杯亮饮料。我们看到了很多新鲜时期，我感兴趣的 OLED 显示器。请点赞、订阅，并在下方留言告诉我们你最感兴趣的内容。别忘了查看我们的抖音。
这是踢球大使与邀约在2024年台北国际电脑站访问踢球大使王。我们在抖音上，请点赞、订阅并给我们一个赞。